Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. No Mr. Killer. Cornelius Robinson, the prominent Westmoreland businessman who in 2015 strangled to death a 14-year-old whom he had impregnated and dumped her body under a bridge outside her school on Friday, lost his appeal to have his time behind bars lowered. The former fashion designer and photo studio operator, who had pleaded guilty to murder some days after the gruesome discovery of Santoya Campbell's body, had been sentenced to life in the Westmoreland Circuit Court in February that same year by Justice Martin Gale. The court at that time had ordered that the married businessman and father would become eligible for parole only after spending 25 years behind bars. An application to appeal filed in 2020 was refused by a single judge. Robinson, however, renewed the application last month and was successful in having it heard. Attorney for the convicted man, Lambert S. Johnson, argued that the court had not given his client a sufficient discount, which he has been sentenced, given the fact that he had made an exceptional early guilty plea, had an excellent police antecedent report, meaning no previous convictions, and was very remorseful. In arguing that the sentence handed down to Robinson had been manifestly excessive, the attorney charged the judge had not taken those three factors into sufficient account. As such, he contended that the period of eligibility before parole for his client should be reduced to 18 years, down from 25 years. However, the Crown, represented by Assistant Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Natalie Malcolm, assisted by Junior Dominique Martin, rebutted those arguments, while pointing out that the aggravating factors of the murder far outweighed the mitigating factors. Prosecutors instead that they were court to accede to Johnson's request and reduce the sentence, it would shock the public's conscience. Further, the Crown said the only discount from which Robinson should benefit was the 21 days he had spent in custody awaiting trial. Malcolm, in driving home the point, told the court that this was one of the worst ways in which a 14-year-old could lose her life. Subsequently, the court ordered that the sentence be reduced only by the 21 days Robinson spent in custody, making it so that the sentence of life imprisonment with 25 years before eligibility for parole be substituted with life imprisonment without eligibility for parole until he has served 24 years, 11 months, and 10 days. According to the facts of the case, which caused much public anger, Santoya had left her home on January 26, 2015 for school at Frome Technical High, where she was a grade 8 student. When she did not return home, a missing persons report was filed. Her body was discovered days later under the Cabarita River Bridge close to her school. Her hands and feet were bound. Robinson, who was among the persons of interest interviewed by the police, had initially said he knew the child and her mother, but denied knowing her whereabouts. He, however, changed his tune after the investigation uncovered blood on the spoiler of his motor vehicle. In a question and answer session with his attorney, present on January 29, 2015, the businessman confessed to have killed the child and indicated that he had in fact seen her the day she went missing. He said the student, who had visited his business place 3 to 4 times monthly for lunch money, based on an agreement between her mother and him, had on that day in question approached him for money to purchase a phone. He claimed that although he had known Santana from 2007, he had intercourse with her only once in 2014. He claimed that he killed her because of frustration and blackmail. According to Robinson, the young girl had threatened to expose him to his wife, so he strangled her with his hands. He told the police that he was the one to deposit her body under the bridge later that night after keeping her corpse in his office all day. A postmortem revealed that the child died from asphyxiation due to suffocation. Justice Gale, in handing down the original sentence, had told them that 36-year-old Robinson, who is the father of one child, that he took 2 young lives, Santana's and the unborn fetus. In the days following the discovery, residents of Longwood community swarmed news team which had visited the area, saying they were convinced at the onset that Robinson was guilty of the student's murder. They claimed that the day she went missing, Robinson, who had visited his mother's house close to where Santana lived, sparked blankly instead of joining the crowd, which had been searching for the body. Suspect held for popular JUTA Tours driver's killing. Police Friday afternoon arrested a suspect in connection with the gruesome killing of popular JUTA Tour operator Carlton Miller. Miller, otherwise called Blacks, formerly of Bel-Air in Runaway Bay, St. Anne, was found dead with stab wounds and his feet bound in his car in wooded section of Discovery Bay in the parish. The suspected, who is from Royal Palm in Runaway Bay, was arrested during an operation along Main Street in that town. Police reported that a cellular phone, believed to have been stolen from Miller at the time of his death, was taken from the suspect. Police had reported that about 3 p.m. on January 20, residents of an area known as Bridgewater became suspicious when they saw a Toyota Wish parked along the roadway in a heavily forested area. The police were summoned, and upon their arrival, Miller's body was found in the back seat of the car. It had multiple stab wounds and the throat was slashed. His feet were also bound. The police say they collected several sharp implements from the scene, including a pair of scissors. Schoolgirl to return to court for stabbing classmate. A schoolgirl who was charged for stabbing another student during a fight at the Mushet High School in Trelawney will return to court later this month. The teen, who is charged with wounding with intent, had her case put off when she appeared in the family court with her parents recently. Head of the Trelawney Police Division, Superintendent Carlos Ross, reported that the girl will appear in court on March 17, 2022. The teen was charged after the injured girl was stabbed in the face and arm during the fight. Several videos of the fight, the injuries, and even the detention of the alleged stabber by the police were posted on social media. It is not known what caused the fight, but one video footage shows the two girls throwing punches and kicks. Some students look on excitedly, cursing indecent language and cheering, while others tried to part the fight. When they finally part, one of the girls had blood on her school uniform from several stabs she received from what happened to be a pen. Another video showed the girl with the bleeding stabbing wounds alone as some students led her away apparently to get treatment. In another footage, the student accused of doing the stabbing is seen being taken from a bus by the police, while in a picture, the student who was injured showed her sewed-up wounds. Med School Dilemma. The University of the West Indies UWI Mona campus said it is willing to open its doors to Jamaican medical students who fled Ukraine after Russia launched a full-scale military invasion on that Eastern European country. However, campus registrar Dr. Donovan Stanberry told reporters that the students would be required to pay tuition fees in order to continue their studies. Additionally, issues relating to course matriculation would have to be sorted out on a case-by-case basis before students are granted admission. Preliminary discussions have been between the university and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in terms of the possibility of the university accommodating those students, Stanberry reported on Thursday. The issue of fees would remain because we are not in any position whatsoever sympathetic as we are to those students to admit them in our system without paying the full tuition fee, Stanberry noted. He said that there are about 55 students who receive government subsidy, but all of those spaces for the current financial year have already been allocated, and we just don't have the wherewithal to offer any concession. Concerns have been raised about how the medical students would further their studies after they returned home. The students decided to pursue tertiary studies at a more affordable cost in Ukraine, but found themselves in the middle of the war, which started on February 24. At the university, tuition for medicine is US $28,000 and with subsidized by government that goes down to US $5,800 yearly. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, the full tuition ranges from US $3,500 to US $5,000. Stanberry also said a determination would have to be made about the equivalence of the medical courses done in Ukraine with those at the UWI to decide where to place the students. We have a list of students who have been able to determine their CSEC and CAPE passes, and by virtue of that, we have been able to determine that most of them would have normally matriculated here in our program, and indeed, quite a few of them have applied here and were even made offers to do medicine, except when they were offered the full free payment option, Stanberry noted. Outlining an example of the procedure for students to be accepted, he said, "But let us say that John Bourne has completed 2 years in the Ukraine. We would have to determine where in our system to place John Brown, and in order to make that determination, we would need a transcript for him outlining the courses that he would have completed and in what grade. That kind of clinical determination would have to be made in respect of each student, and that would now tell us where in our system we could place the students. Would they be exempted from year 1 substantially, but still carry a few years 1 courses if we have courses in our year 1 program that they didn't do in Ukraine? Asked if there were problems with availability of space for the students, Stanberry responded, "At this point, no." Use coffee to bring more visitors to Jamaica, Bartlett says. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the development of cottage industries to support the production of coffee byproducts, including beverages, is one strategy Jamaica can employ to bring more visitors to the island. According to a release, Bartlett expressed that Jamaica is in a good position as a producer of some of the world's finest coffee to tantalize to the taste buds of visitors, many of whom come to the island in search of a satisfying gastronomical experience. Bartlett noted that coffee is the most consumed beverage in the world, with 1.2 billion cups drunk daily, and Jamaica can fulfill a portion of this demand. It is possible for us to develop cottage industry around coffee, and we can bring in the players from all over the world in the same way that foodies travel all over the world for this experience, he said, adding that the government is prepared to invest in building Jamaica's capacity to deliver high-quality coffee experiences. The minister was addressing the launch at the Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee Festival on Tuesday, March 2nd, at the Jamaica Food and Drink Kitchen located at Progressive Plaza on Barbican Road in St. Andrew. Bartlett said that the annual festival is part of the strategy to utilize gastronomy tourism to bring the world to the island. He noted that 42% of the expenditure of visitors globally is in food and drink. We want to bring coffee to Jamaica, and that's the whole idea of having this festival. We want to market that. We want to open destinations with that as a drawing card, he pointed out. In his remarks, Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Pernell Charles Jr. said that the ministry is committed to development of the coffee industry. The ministry, through the Rural Agricultural Development Authority (RADA), Jamaica Agricultural Commodities Authority (JACRA), we are going to make sure that we do what is necessary to give support to our farmers, he noted. A flagship event at the Ministry of Tourism, the Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee Festival, which is now in its 5th edition, seeks to leverage gastronomic tourism as a medium for diversifying the Jamaican tourism production. Festival activities will be held throughout the month of March to showcase Blue Mountain coffee and coffee-related products. This will bring together local and international suppliers, foodies, and other interested parties. Among the events are farm tours, virtual workshops and seminars, a sip and shop, and promotion of the Blue Mountain Culinary Trail. The festival culminates on April 2nd with a festival marketplace on the lawns of Devon House. The Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee Festival is organized by the Tourism Linkages Network, a division of the Tourism Enhancement Fund, in collaboration with the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce and the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. It aims to support coffee industry stakeholders, the private sector, and community businesses in the Blue Mountains, and strengthen links between the agriculture and tourism industries. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.